The Gundam phenomenon started in April of 1979 with the debut of the Mobile Suit Gundam TV series on Japanese television, and it was perfect. The late 70s saw an explosion of these space adventures with things like Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica being pop culture phenomena around the world. Unfortunately, Gundam was too real for most, and the show didn't fare well at first. In fact, it was almost cancelled. The show was created by a Japanese animation firm called Sunrise, which is a subsidiary of Bandai Namco. At Sunrise, a collective of creatives working under Yoshiyuki Tomino under the pseudonym Yatate developed the concept. The name Gundam is a portmanteau. That just means that there's two words that are combined to form a brand new word. So Gundam is a portmanteau of the English word gun and the end of the English word for freedom, but was then adjusted to dam, as in plugging up a dam, which once we get to the plot will make a bit more sense for you. Gundam is a big, bold space opera that's 40 years old and yet still holds up as one of the best. It's a much loved story, and it's now a perfect time at the dawn of the 40th anniversary to talk all about it. Before we begin though, let me thank you for watching JLS Comics and pressing play. If you like videos like this, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you want, the subscribe button as well. I upload new comic book, movie, superhero, anime content every week. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into our Gundam story. Gundam's actually part of a subgenre of anime called Mecha, short for mechanized or mechanical. If you're not familiar with that, Mecha are mechanized suits that the characters wear. They're usually massive in scale, but they're typically humanoid, cybernetic, and they usually have a full arsenal of futuristic weaponry. These mecha can be either piloted by one or by a team. They can be sentient, meaning they have their own consciousness like the Transformers do. They can be piloted like Voltron is, or they can be remote controlled. So there's a variety of different variations there. Some are powered by magic and mysticism, while others are just pure science. Mazinger, Spider-Man's Leopardon were part of the Shogun Warrior Mattel and are great examples for mecha. Later versions that you'd probably be familiar with are obviously Transformers, Dairiger XV, which was adapted to become Voltron in America, and even the Megazords of Power Rangers and the massive armored infantry of the Mech Warrior Battletech series. Probably the most familiar will be the Jaegers from the Pacific Rim movies. Great examples of mecha. Then you have Titanfall and Diva from Overwatch also fall into this category. Evangelion, Code Geass, Macross, Robotech, Bubblegum Crisis. They're all this same subgenre of anime. It's actually my favorite type of anime, but we're getting off track here, so let's bring it right back to Gundam. Gundam's mecha are piloted and they're science-based. They're technological developments. The Gundam suits were inspired by the exoskeletons in the 1959 novel Starship Troopers. Gundam, the first Gundam, is set in the future in the year 2079 or 0079 in a timeline dubbed the Universal Timeline. I say this because it's one of many timelines within the Gundam universe, and I'll explain that in a moment. The basic premise for Gundam is a war between the Earth Federation and the Principality of Zeon, and the war is fought with these giant mechanized machines. The Principality of Zeon declared independence from Earth and a massive war erupted called the 1 Year War. But it also affected Earth's space colonies, which are called SEEDs, as well. And that's where we find young Amuro, our protagonist, when we first meet him. Zeon had these smaller, agile mobile suits that were highly effective against the Federation's massive ships. And to win, the Federation quickly realized that they needed something similar, so they started to develop mechanized mobile suit prototypes in secret, as well as new massive warships that could transport all these new suits. The top secret project was called Project V, short for Project Victory, and was housed in a secret development facility on a Federation colony called Side 7. And this is where Amuro, a young 15-year-old mechanic, lives with his father, who happens to be head of Project V. One of the new warships, christened White Base, was deployed to pick up the new prototype mobile suits from a colony for field testing when it was attacked by Zeon forces. And Amuro, our savvy young mechanic, found the prototypes and was able to pilot one called the RX-78-2, a stark white bleeding-edge technology Gundam suit, to fight back against the Zeon forces. And Amuro found his arch nemesis in the villain lieutenant commander of the Zeon, named Char, and his blood-red Gundam suit. The Federation ended up with 8 different Gundam suits, each with a distinctive color scheme. Amuro's Gundam, in its all-white glory, earned him the name White Devil. The war Amuro fought and brought death, real consequences, moral and ethical questions, the horrors of war, Machiavellian justifications, and love and loyalty are all explored here with the family. Like, what does killing mean to a teenager? What are the emotional consequences and the fallout from that, even if it means saving your own friends? Just one of the many questions that it's asked. Something that seems to confuse people is the timelines of Gundam. Most of the stories take place in the Universal Timeline. what's called the UC, short for Universal Century, but there are multiple others like Future Century, After Colony, After War, Cosmic Era, Advanced Generation, Post Disaster, and a few others. Depending on the story, it takes place in a different timeline, so here's a couple examples that will get you started depending on what you like. Mobile Fighter G Gundam, for example, is the only one to take place in the Future Century. It's an anime series from 1994, the first one to not be set in the UC. It's a timeline where humans ruined Earth, and instead of a war, they have these mechanized fight tournaments. It's actually a good place to start outside of UC because conceptually it's easy to comprehend, like all the mythology and the backstory and why they're having these tournaments. It does pull heavily from like 70s and 80s era kung fu films, so if you like that, I think you'll be into Mobile Fighter G as well. Cosmic Era is where Gundam SEED takes place. It's a well-developed timeline, and SEED's one of the more modern of the shows. They have advanced themes, genetic engineering, really slick CG animation. Several hundred years after humans colonized space is when Advanced Generation's story starts. You can see this in Mobile Suit Gundam Age. Post-Disaster, it came out in 2015, is the story of the Gundams 300 years after an apocalypse called the Calamity War. This you can find in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. And just like SEED, it's futuristic, it's slick, and it's one of the more modern of the takes. Also, the first Gundam series was reworked by Tomino himself into a trilogy of movies. It was Mobile Suit Gundam Soldiers of Sorrow, and Mobile Suit Gundam Encounters in Space. So if you're feeling like the big old series is daunting undertaking, the trilogy might be a good place to start instead. Just 3 movies. Or you just pick up, like the Viz Media or Tokyo Pop manga books and explore the Gundam universe from there too. You can do that. There's over 30 series, almost rivaling that of Ultraman, in addition to a couple dozen movies, over 100 manga, nearly 50 novels, and over 200 games. Yeah, that's right. That's a lot of games. Gundam Wing is how most Americans were introduced to Gundam, myself included, all the way back in 2001 when Cartoon Network first aired it. In fact, I watched a lot of Toonami back then, more than I should have, but my Sega and my TV, they took up a lot of time. Speaking of time, that is it for this video. That, my friends, is Gundam. I hope I broke it down for you. Nice and simple, nice and easy. 40 years into the series, it's still much loved and celebrated. I want to know though, have you seen it? What's your favorite Gundam? Your Gundam suit, your favorite Gundam episode, your favorite Gundam timeline? Let me know down in the comments below. Leave a comment there, or you can tweet me at comicsjls. If you're here and you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be one of the first to know when we upload new content every week. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.